you don't fight with it like this. You can, people always do the whole like shoulder over and then the one arm, but this is not what they show in the manuals for the fighting style. It has some level of protection, but it also gets in your way, and if you have a two-handed with it. But what they show is that when you're actually using a cape and combat, you usually have to pull the pin to get off faster. You take it, you grab it around your hand, and you wrap it around like that. This effectively acts as a glove to protect your hand. And once I've wrapped it, I unwrap my hand. Okay? Now, it will stay roughly on my hand, even though I'm not actually holding it. My hand is open now. And this allows for a couple of techniques. People do the same thing with belts. So if you have the fight and you're getting ready, you have your belt on, you rip it out. You probably leave the buckle as the hanging part, and then wrap this around your arm and wrist. And you want to leave it loose enough you can kind of open up your hand a little bit, so you can hold it with just the fingers. Okay? So the idea is you're fighting with your weapon, whether it's this or if you have a one-handed weapon. All right? If you go for a low leg cut, I can rack this into this. Now, right. I'm not doing it full force, I'm not cutting it full force, but, so one thing, this is leather. If you're cutting at my leg and you hit this leather, it affects some level of armor. The other thing is, it slows down momentum. I'm not trying to hit it with full force because I don't know how strong this glove will be. Other people will say that. You can wrap it around that. The other thing is that you're getting ready with your sword, you're putting it in position, you reach out, and then I reach around this way to catch it. I almost got that perfect the first time. Almost. But reach it around, and then try and catch this way. Now, your sword may cut this, but for the moment, I'm able to display. If you're already dead, it doesn't matter. Okay? So, there's that, and then also the using of the buckle as a mace for it. Less than your face. Clear a weapon, it acts like a Florentine style. Even if I grab this and then just bash you in the leg with it. Now, to give you a different example of this with the cape.
I believe it is, because I went to buy one before.
The reason for the battle capes is you're doing this, you try and cut this cape. You see how much heavier that is than that belt? One. Right? And then two, I can grab your sword with this, and it doesn't matter if it's moving or how I grab it. This is armor. Once I've got this sword, I've got your sword pretty much as well as you do on your hand, and I'm free now to open this up. The reason I leave that hanging is for the flourish at the face. Also, if you have the weapon presented, I can use it to clear a weapon and then attack. I lost my grip there. And then there's also the possibility of sort of the bullfighter technique. And then I flourish it this way. When you flourish it up, you can hide the weapon and then stab underneath. Because for a moment you're blind with this. If I bring the weapon up underneath, you can't see that I slid it up under your guard for the thrust. So the cape actually tends to be, of the hanging weapons, the more effective one, because there's a couple of things you can do with it that you can't do with the belt. That's why I bought one. The belt is perfectly fine for like trying to wrap around to do like a normal like plow. If I try and wrap around that, and then if I were to actually catch it, or if I were to just actually throw it with real force that it wrapped around, it would be enough that I could catch it enough to sling and throw in to slow you down. But I can't blind you with the belt. I could make you duck the buckle and risk hitting you with it. But the cape itself, with its same thing of is enough of a force to actually make an impact. Right? Now it's soft, so I didn't mind like actually whacking you with it a little bit, but it wasn't that bad, right? At the same token, it does shift your head, it does blind you, and it does knock you around. The belt buckle might cause you to bleed, a chain or something like that. There's a chance that when you're fighting, let me use Sophie for this one. There's a chance that while you're fighting, I come around and I'm able to get this in here because I wrap the sword around, or the cape around it. I can then grab the sword. I can even pull it up against my leg here, and I've got complete control of this with the freedom of it. Trying to wrap it around the arms. There's even, I'm not used to this, so I keep letting it go, but there's even a thing where I'm going in, I strike, and I try and behind your legs here, and then when you try and step, I can now step on the end here, and it acts as a sort of catch for your legs. If you step on it, I can then try and pull this out from under you to make you fall over while you're engaged. All of which are easier with the cape than they are with the other things. The typical things used are the capes, belts, whips, ropes, chains, and nets. Nets have some of the same properties as the cape. They have a one unique property in that, I don't know if I can pull this off the cape at all, but if I get it loose and I'm sort of flinging it and you come trying to come at me, well, it just hit you in the face, but I was trying to get it to spread open. If I can get it to spread open right and then throw it at somebody, yeah, hit them right, it should cover their face long enough that I can kind of thrust in. Hopefully they're clearing the cape a little bit. I already got her with it twice. I'm gonna try it one more time on you. Right? You can resist a little bit here.
I don't know. I thought I was being empty.
Overswing. What? You closed your eyes.
I did.
Yeah, so the second that you thought you were getting hit with a cape, you're more likely to just duck the belt. So the only one I felt I need to buy to run the string was the battle cape. It can kind of simulate the other ones, and with the exception of the with the actual net, like one that with weighted ends, so that when you sling it, you can spin it and it'll fling open and spread over someone. It does everything all the other ones do. In fact, some people added weights at points so that the capes will actually do the same thing. If you spin it right, it opens into a fan. You let go of the fan, and it's basically like netting somebody in a cape that you can see through. Let's see. So. The one other thing, this cape is thick enough that if you have it with that full wraparound, that's pretty thick hitting. Go ahead and, yeah, pop on there. Like, I feel it, but this is enough protection that it's not quite comparable to the hard glove. Go ahead and wrap it around your hand there a little bit. Right. Like, you feel that, right? Like, decent hit. You'll feel it, cut resistant, but it's actually pretty decent protection. And you don't want it tapped around too tight. You had it two runs. This is probably still enough to protect your hand from the actual cut. If I do a leg swing, that stops the hit on your leg. Right? And that was actually a significant swing. I wasn't really holding that back too much. Like, that will stop a hit. So if you're defending up with your head, I've got this, and then you can stop that, and you can reach forward and grab. I get the idea. Yeah, but yeah, you get the hand open, and then now I'm pretty well contained. I'm gonna try it once. All right, yeah, so just one wrap. You wrapped it twice, right? So you want to. Yeah. All right. So if you hold the sword out or the arm out a little bit, it can stop the sword. You can also pull it up in front like a curtain. And so if you wave it up in my face, and you can hide the sword behind it, and then I have a harder chance of dodging. I don't know at which angle you're moving the sword. I'm going to hit a little bit, but I'll hit a little bit lighter for yours. That's the arm protection that it provides, particularly if you're wearing also a gambeson or stuff like that. That's just going to only add to that. So, let's see, flourish, and then the catch. So if I'm going here and then I catch under, and then you can catch it with that hand too. You should just leave, like basically holding it with just your thumb, so that your whole hand is, you want your fingers free so you can kind of grab at a moment's notice. So if I do an undercut, and then you can grab at that pretty quick. Now that you've got this, your grip's about as good as mine, and you've got that advantage on that position. So, yeah. So, cape, it was a thing. It was a thing for more than 100 years. And it was, of all the hanging weapons, it's probably the best one. The belt as an improvised one is pretty good. The chain, of course, hits more. It hits harder when it hits, but it's also a little bit slower. And like I was trying to do with a wraparound, if you had a heavy enough buckle and a good sturdy belt, like if you were wearing it for the purpose of maybe using it for a fight, you'd get better traction on it. It would swing better, also for at full force. But to me, it doesn't provide that quite the same potential for a grab that the cape does. And because you put some of it in your pommel, it does allow you to grab the sword. Because you can put the level on the leather on the edge to prevent for a draw cut across your hand. But this is just way more forgiving in that grab. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So for those of you who wish to try out the cape sometime as a offhand weapon, do like sparring dagger or whatever cape. It's a historical thing, and a lot of people will actually do a sparring dagger with a cape, because you can grab the handle of the dagger, like so you hold the cape with the thumb, and then wrap it around the arm, leaving the dagger exposed, and then you can have dealing out there. If you're just walking around town, you can easily wear a side sword, a dagger, and you're wearing a cape just for bad weather, and then now you're able to add that to it. There's one weapon I didn't mention. It was actually in a lot of manuscripts, and that is the lantern. The lantern hangs from the handle. It's pretty hard, like a mace. There is a chance of catching people on fire, and it lets you fight at night so you can see. It's also super clumsy compared to all the rest of it, so I don't really recommend it, but there's more than a few manuals in there. So. All right, now I'm done for real.